Okay, so now let's look up uh, Justin traded hemp. Let's see what comes up. Okay, let's go beyond Jefferson. Let's say hemp trade in Virginia, 1700s. Research from Colonial Williamsburg. Okay. In the middle of the 18th century, Virginians had 12,000 acres cultivated in hemp. More than a quarter of the 45,000 acres they had in tobacco. As the relationship between Britain and the American colonies soured, hemp gained favor to compensate for shortages caused by boycotts of British imports. Virginia's Piedmont and Shenandoah Valley regions where tobacco did not grow so well, hemp became a staple. Okay. The difficulty of processing hemp did not deter its cultivation. Okay, let's go up and see. Research colonialwilliamsburg.org. Okay, they used flax a lot too. Flax too created useful filament, but fibers from flax, a shorter, more slender plant, tend to be finer, and they were usually made into clothes rather than cordage. Hemp was generally preferred from cordage, though the two products were often used interchangeably and sometimes even woven together into the same textile. Hemp had an added advantage of returning at least twice as much yield in fiber per acre than flax under ideal growing and processing conditions. Farmers cultivated hemp throughout the American colonies, from the southern reach of Northern America to New England and Canada, since it grows in all but coldest climates. But in the 18th century, Virginians and Marylanders grew the most. Okay. There was an indigenous species known to Native Americans called Indian hemp. But the cannabis most often cultivated in the colonies were an introduced species. Okay. Apocanum cannabium, cannabinum is Indian hemp. And then the one that we know today that was introduced is cannabis sativa. Okay, along with its long, sturdy fibers, cannabis has another remarkable trait. And now I'm wondering, why did they use the imported one as opposed to using the Indian hemp? What was the difference? Was the imported one stronger? Was the what was the difference? What was the difference? That's what I'm wondering. So let's go ahead and look that up, because I am curious. A perennial herbaceous plant that grows through much of North America. Da, 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 da. Okay, so let's do that. Compared to cannabis sativa. Fibers are very fine and strong, like silky texture, and easier to process than hemp. So why? Is it just because it was native and they wanted to like not use what was native? Plant grows through much of North America. And look at the flowers of it. Look at the picture. Let's see. Perennial herbaceous plant that grows throughout much of North America and the southern half of Canada and throughout the United States. It is poisonous to humans, dogs, cats, and horses. Well, then that's why. All parts of this plant are toxic and can cause cardiac arrest if ingested. Ow. Okay. Okay. So, hummingbird moths eat this plant. But it is poisonous to humans, cats, dogs, and horses. So this is why it wasn't used. But that's if ingested. So I guess they figured we're going to import the other one, and that way we can use the fibers and smoke the flower. And eat the leaves and the roots and all of that. And the toxic one, they just said we'll leave that one alone. But then this Wikipedia Jones said it is used to treat slow pulse and fever. Treat a wide variety of complaints, including rheumatism, cough, pox, whooping cough, asthma, internal parasites, diarrhea, and increased lactation. So let's go back here. Okay, well, this one is talking about it being poisonous. So I don't see references. So let's skip that one. Maybe it won't poisonous. Maybe it was some other reason why they didn't want to use it. Alrighty. Look at that, showing sap from a broken leaf. That's a lot, whatever it is. It is used in herbal medicine to treat fever and slow pulse. That's the part that reaches. Okay, number 5. Is that for lactation or for whooping cough? Plants of a Future, 2015 archive. P5 plants for a future. We have recently published Food Forest Plants, not a condition. Okay. All parts of the plants are hazardous. It contains toxic cardiactive glycerides. Okay, so back to it being toxic. Gravelly or sandy soil. near the streams. The common weed of cultivated land usually found in sandy and moist places. That sound like out by the river or the beach. They almost look like broccoli growing. A perennial hibiscus plant with some edible, medicinal, and other uses. A very good quality fiber obtained from the bark is used for making clothes, twine, bags, linen, and paper. Indian hemp is an unpleasantly bitter stimulant irritant herb that acts on the heart, respiratory, and urinary systems, and also on the uterus. It has been used as a anti-rheumatic, cardiotonic, diuretic, emetic, expectorant, tonic, VD, vermifuge, and for warts. Similar to cannabis sativa as a fiber plant, but not as a source of psychoactive drug. Okay, common names for it is dogbane, Amy root, hemp dogbane, Perry dogbane, Indian hemp, rheumatism root, and wild cotton. Can be misspelled as, there we go. Okay. But the colonies chose to introduce the species of cannabis. Along with its long, sturdy fibers, cannabis has another remarkable trait. And that's another reason, probably because it grew taller. It said that it grew taller than Indian hemp. Remarkable trait. It synthesized a chemical called delta-9 ray MA. Beautiful, beautiful delta-9 type of tetrahydro cannabidiol, or THC. THC is a psychoactive compound found at highest levels of resin cannabis produces. And the resin cannabis produces. Cannabis has separate male and female organs on different plants. And a unfertilized flower of hemp's female plants contain the most resin. By themselves, the female flowers are what we today call marijuana. The resin can also be collected and formed into cakes known as hashish. Smoking or eating marijuana or hashish induces a hallucinogenic high. Okay, ancient records refer to people partaking in ritualistic and recreational intoxication from hemp at least 26,000 years ago. It was used in religious ceremonies and everything. I'll look that up and put that in a different video. It was found inside of like prayer spots that was believed to have been like prayer altars and stuff like that. Archaeologists found resin insights. Anyway, I'm gonna do that in a different video. So, though the hallucinogenic properties were well known by the 18th century. There's no evidence to suggest that colonial Americans were taking advantage of this mind-altering uh, quirk of the hemp they grew. I want to challenge that and look that up because I don't believe that. They growing male and female plants. We just saw in the Jefferson record, they grew male and female plants, and he left a log on how to make the seed. Okay. When you're making the seed, you're growing them together. Once the flowers bloom, and after they start to pollinate, cut the male plant down so that all of the nutrients goes to the female plant, right? Like he's giving clear instructions. So that means on other times, that means they knew the difference between male and female plants. Other times, they not growing it for pollinating purposes, so they not putting them in the ground all together. That was just when they trying to get the seed. So that means that they purposely planted them to grow seeds, and they purposely planted them not necessarily to have seed in it. So other times it was separate. So what was they doing with it when it was separate, when they didn't want the seed in it? Regardless of how many seeds is in the plant, you can still use the fiber. The fiber is still good for making rope and clothes and stuff like that. So that means other times they were using the flower, that they did not want to have all the seeds in it. Because if that weren't the case, then they would grow it together all the time because the seeds were profitable. They can replant the seeds, they can sell the seeds. So why not just grow it like that all the time? And then use the fibers to make what you need to make the fibers with. They was smoking that female plant. They was doing something with it where they had to keep it separate. Alright, let's see. Okay. Here is the advertisement I found. The Pennsylvania Gazette. I wonder if that's Pennsylvania. Anyway, this is the 1729. And here in this article, they're talking about hemp. Great off in the arts and manufacturers. And they're comparing it to flax and other materials they used to make things. This plant is annual, that is, must be fawn after every year. It rifles quick into a tall slender fort of shrub. Whole stem, however, is hollow and big enough to be corded, burnt into coal. And thus, oft in the conflagration of gunpowder, its leaves are rift by fives of flexes from the famed pedicle. Okay, I'm having a hard time reading that stuff, to be quite honest, but here you go. They burnt it in the coal. They used it for rope. This is in 1729. An article was written informing the people about the hemp. Hemp is of two kinds, male commonly called Carl and female called Thimble. It is the male alone that produces seed to perpetuate the kind. From the seed of the male arifies both male and female, is that it does not appear that the ancients were antiquated with the umph of hemp. We saw they had their own plant, the Indian hemp. Uh, Cannabis sativa was one that was brought over, introduced to the Americas. Umph of hemp and respect, I'm guessing that's respect of the thread. It affords plenty who F peaks of the plant in his natural history. Fay is not a word of it. Containing himself with extolling the virtues of his stem, leaves, and root. In effect, were from writers in Roman antiquities and mark that the hemp nephry for the umph of war was all floated up in 2 cities of the Western Empire. Seed is fade to have faculty of abating. Okay. They used it in milk. Okay, the leaves were held good, giant burns, and the juice thereof against deafness. Okay, so they're talking about how they used it for medicine. The leaves for burns, the juice for deafness, the powder of the flower mixed with ordinary liquor is fated to turn thoth who drink it thereof stupid. Right, so they was using it for its hallucinogenic properties. The culture and management of hemp makes a comfortable article in agriculture. The plant is fine in May in a warm sandy. It looks like you can just replace all the F's with S. This is really weird. Okay, the plant is sown in May in a warm, sandy, rich soil. See, but they got S right there for soil. They ain't put an F. They got fandy instead of sandy. Okay, maybe these was just typos. Maybe the F and the S key was close to each other. I don't know. This is real weird. And it is self-sufficient to destroy weeds on the ground. They begin to gather it like da 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 da. Okay, well, let's go back right here. Right here. The seed is said to have faculty of abating venerals' desires. Okay? And its decorations in milk. And its deconcoction in milk is recommended against the jaundice. Okay, so you put it in milk for jaundice. The leaves are held good against burns, and the juice thereof against deafness. The powder or flour, okay, mixed with any ordinary liquor. So they took the flour and mixed it with liquor. is said to turn thereof who drink thereof stupid. They putting it in the liquor and getting high. Well, it's turning them stupid. Putting it, just mix it with any ordinary liquor. The culture and management of hemp makes a considerable article in architecture. Okay. The way of gathering it up by the roots, after which you buy handfuls of bundles. The males they let stand 8 to 10 days in the air, and the seeds may dry and ripen. They had this a little backwards. They call the male plants the ones that produce seeds. They call that the male plant. After which they cut off the heads and beat or thrash them to get out the seeds. They thereafter beat the female to get out the thick, fitted, short and duft contained therein. This done, they proceeded to water and rate it by laying it 5 to 6 days in a pool. Okay. When we didn't take it out again, they dried it, then break and beat out the dry bun and hex, which it was covered. The next thing is to beat the hemp, and this is done by either the block or the thorn with a hammer or with beetles. Okay, this is just how they broke down the hemp fiber so it could be used. The pulling and the retting and all that stuff. Separating the fibers. So they can get the thin silk, turn it into cord and they turn it into like thread. Why does John flash up to this page real quick? Leather breeches. Bucks and breeches, 18 Water Street, nearby. Biggs leaves to return to the furnace. Acknowledgments of the friends of the public in general for the many flavors he has experienced, and it shall be the height of his ambition to merit a continuance thereof from his long experience in Buffenef in different parts of Europe, as well as in the capital cities in America. He flattens himself that he has it in his power to serve the public as well as any in America, and doth gentlemen that will favor him with their commands may depend on punctuality and dispatch, and the leaf flavors gratefully acknowledged by the public, most humble servant, he has for sale a complete new Dutch wagon. Okay, I don't know why this just flipped to that. That's what it looked like when they pulling. That's the pulling machine, where they separate the fibers into thinner fibers. You can use it to make rope, a thread for fabric. All right. And that was the Pennsylvania Gazette that we read. From 1729. It talks about hemp being added to regular liquor to make the person that's drinking it stupid. Let's see, hemp was used back then to get high. It was used to make clothes. It was used to make clothes for the slaves. Thomas Jefferson won't growing 500 pounds per acre just to make slaves' clothes once a year. It was traded regularly, sold regularly. They saw as archives. It was accepted as payment for certain things also. All right. That went into Pennsylvania, but that was a bit of hemp history in Virginia. 1700s, pre-Revolutionary War.